What's going on, everyone? I hope you enjoyed the rest of your winter. I'm sorry for you and myself and for football fans around the world that we had to watch the Patriots win the Super Bowl again. Probably will never forgive the Rams for that. They weren't supposed to be there in the first place. They got away with, the most egregious pass interference of all time. And not only did they rob us of Breeze Brady in the Super Bowl, but they scored 3 points in the Super Bowl, the youngest or, the most innovative offensive mind of this century, supposedly. And I still like Sean McVay, don't get me wrong, but 3 points in the Super Bowl, come on. And a lot of that was on Goff. And I'm not going to, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. It's springtime, we're into April, that means free agency has come and gone, the new league year, it is draft season, it is WrestleMania season, if you're into that. I'm recording this the weekend prior to WrestleMania, so I like wrestling too. Big WWE guy, if you want to talk about that, we can do that as well. Big Kofi guy this weekend, huge, I actually pulled this out for this weekend. Got this from Kofi Kingston at a Buffalo show, he threw it and I caught it. One of his crop tops. I don't think I'll wear it because obviously, but that's kind of cool if you like stuff like that. Thanks for coming along on this little personal anecdote, this little detour here. Let's get into it. Bills. Before free agency really started, I think it was definitely the weekend before. The Bills made waves in the NFL by trading for Antonio Brown. Now, you can pretend you weren't excited at first. I guess there were definitely some detractors out there who were like, oh, here we go, the Bills are doing this again. And, I guess because of their track record, I can't really blame you for feeling that way. But, I was excited. You say that initial excitement. We did what? Traded for Antonio Brown? What? And it's coming from Ian Rappaport, NFL Network's top guy, who is generally pretty rock solid. But almost immediately you get the Brown Instagram reply that says fake news, and you're like, here we go. What's going on? And all throughout the night, Adam Schefter is remaining silent on the thing, and that is a huge red flag. More red than that red flag. That Schefter's not saying anything. ESPN's top guy, formerly NFL Network's top guy. He is, from what I can tell, the most rock solid. I can't think of a single time he's been wrong. But I could have said the same about Rappaport until this. He seemed pretty convinced. He went on TV and talked about it. And it's weird. It's weird that he would leak that out. So maybe there was a deal done. My guess would be that there was a deal done and that Brown backed out, or the Bills backed out because Brown either A, refused to come, or B, wouldn't re-up, or that there was obviously some hesitation on somebody's side, so the Bills maybe just removed themselves from it, and the Steelers were maybe nice enough to just say, yeah, well, there were talks, but, it just never materialized. And then, there's the rumor that after that, the Bills were called by Dave Gettleman about Odell Beckham Jr., and I'll get into another thing about that, because a lot of people believe that the main reason Antonio Brown didn't come was because it's Buffalo. And I'm done. I'm not here for that. I am so sick of that. I'm forever committed to debunking the idea that Buffalo sucks. Buffalo does not suck. Just because Jordan Matthews can't find anything better to do than have sex with his wife in Buffalo for the 6 months he was here, or whatever, even if it was even that, 4 months maybe. Of course he didn't find anything to do. He wasn't here long enough. He was going to practice every day. I can't. I'm just so sick of it that, all it does is snow. No, it snows in Cincinnati. It snows in Pittsburgh. It snows in Baltimore. It snows in Cleveland. It snows in Philadelphia. It snows in New England. A buffer. And then the Bills trading for Antonio Brown, and there's an immediate Twitter reaction from people outside of Buffalo, oh, look at the Bills. Look at the Bills go, haha. Go ahead, but the little engine that could, buzz off with that. Oh my God. Yeah, they're trying to operate like a real franchise. Yes, they're yes, they're making steps to try to get better. It's not their fault that Antonio Brown has this perception of Buffalo that is totally skewed because he's really never been there other than a Saturday night and a Sunday afternoon. So forget him too. They really don't need him. I honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad they didn't make the trade. They don't need him. They flat out do not need Antonio Brown. He would be more problematic than he would be beneficial. I'm convinced of that. I don't know when he turned into such a diva rock star guy. Like, when did this attitude come about with him? Like, how long has he been like this? Has he always been like this? Doesn't seem like it. And kudos to the Steelers for just like, we gotta lose this guy. Like, and then they gave him up for like a third and a fifth or whatever it was. And it's like, who cares? They did it. The Steelers did that to Mike Wallace and chose Antonio Brown. Now they did it to Antonio Brown and chose Juju Smith-Schuster, and I don't think they'll regret that at all. Like, the Steelers used Antonio Brown for his most productive years and his cheapest years, really. And then they're going to pass him off to the Raiders, who are going to overpay him for his mentally unstable and probably declining production years. That's the bottom line. I'm like, whatever. We don't have Antonio Brown. That's fine. The Bills went into free agency. They still addressed the receiver position. They went and they got Cole Beasley. They got John Brown. They picked up a tight end in Tyler Kroft. They signed another one, a converted tackle in Jake Fisher. I don't know a ton about him exactly, but I do like the additions of Kroft and obviously Brown and Beasley. Beasley represents that guy who can find holes in the zone. He can just sort of make his way open. And Brown is obviously the type of guy who can stretch the field with go routes and whatnot, give you some speed, maybe move some safeties, give you some more space in the middle of the field for guys like Beasley. For guys, Zay Jones and Foster, and I expect them to be there as well. For Isaiah McKenzie, like the receiver room already sounds better, right? It already sounds so much better. You rid it of the poisons. You bring in these guys on pretty, I would say they're decent deals. They're pretty on par with what free agent receivers go for. You know, Brown and Beasley. Beasley got the 4-year deal. What did Brown get exactly? He got the 3-year deal for $27. They seem to have easy outs, at least from what I have read. After 1 year, they would take a cap penalty, obviously, after that. But maybe they'll be productive for them. I think they really can. The Bills went out and signed 13 players on offense. 13. And the first one, I wouldn't blame you for being initially upset because the first one that we heard of, I believe, right, it was Frank Gore. So I imagine that some of you are just picturing the Bills at noon, like this negotiating period opens, and they spend the first couple hours trying to sign Frank Gore. And that, I'm sure, is like, here we go, same old Bills to most of you. To me, it screams culture. I can't say a bad thing about Frank Gore other than the fact that he's 36 years old. There are exceptions to the rules when it comes to running backs over 30. He has definitely been one of them. I don't know what kind of production to expect from him. I don't think LaShawn McCoy is going anywhere. I think they still might draft one and try to, there's that, I hate the term like let him learn, but just let Frank Gore and LaShawn McCoy sort of be the running back role models for the guy that they draft. They also brought in Sonoris Perry, special teams, obviously. Andre Roberts, receiver, special teams, obviously. So they're making these big efforts, to get better on the offensive side of the ball, especially on the offensive line. They bring in Mitch Morse. They bring in Spencer Long. They bring in John Feliciano. They bring in Quentin Spain. They bring in Adrian Waddle. All this says to me is they are not screwing around with depth. They are not trying to be plug-in and play-in toward, when you get into November and you got a couple injuries here. They want guys who are here from the beginning, guys they sign, guys they draft. They don't want to be plucking people off practice squads, even their own maybe, and making them play, having them play valuable, downs for them. So I'm encouraged by that. Like, they identified what's important to them, Josh Allen, and they went and signed a bunch of linemen, a couple of receivers who have had success in the league, and a tight end who has scored touchdowns in the league, a big tight end who has scored touchdowns, and we should be, and they didn't really break the bank to do it. You should be optimistic about it, is my point. And then on defense, they went and they brought back E.J. Gaines. They brought in Kevin Johnson, again, not screwing around with depth at cornerback, which I love. They signed Mo Alexander for special teams, and that's pretty much that, right? That's all they did on defense. So, overall, like, what would you be upset about? They had a hole receiver, they plugged it. They had holes on the offensive line, they plugged them. They've opened up really to go anywhere in the draft, I feel like. And as the draft approaches and the Bills sitting there with the 9th overall pick, they could go anywhere. They could do a lot of things with that. I am not really too high on the idea of trading up. Again, I brought this up last year. I feel like you just do that if you need a quarterback. They did it last year for Josh Allen. Great. So I'm done with the idea of trading up. And you went and you got up your quarterback of the defense, your Tremaine Edmonds. So I'd rather they didn't trade up again and spend the extra assets, because they can really, really fill out this roster. Like, they've done a great job of it in free agency, and they can really, really do it with this draft, especially if they nail it. So at 9, I could see the Bills going defensive tackle. I could see them going linebacker even, especially with Lorenzo Alexander. Pretty much everyone believes will be his last year. I could see them going still offensive line. I could see them going tackle. Those, I guess, would be my top 3. They could go edge rusher. So, and that's in there too. Like, any one of these directions. I think they might get to 9 and ultimately decide to trade down and continue to fill out their roster with extra picks. Now, it's tough to say it's tough to say at 9 because you don't really know how it's going to fall to you. I do think that Kyler Murray is the first overall pick, whether it's to Arizona or Oakland trading up or whatever. I think Kyler Murray is going 1. I think, your Nick Bosa, your Quinnen Williams, your Josh Allens, they're probably in the 2, 3, 4, 5 range. I think Quinnen Williams personally is the best player available. Did you ever watch him at Alabama? I've never seen him lose a matchup. I would pick him probably 1 overall. Hypothetically speaking, if I was Bills and I had the first overall pick and I had to make the pick, I would pick Quinnen Williams. That's what I'm saying. Rashawn Gary is also like maybe a top 10, top 12 pick. That would be the one I would kind of scratch my head at, because while I've seen Quinnen Williams be dominant, I feel like I haven't really watched Rashawn Gary be that good. I've watched Josh Allen play well. Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky. Sorry, it'd be cool to have 2 Josh Allens on the team, but I think he's going top 5, probably. Those are the guys you're probably not getting your hands on. The Williams, the Bosa, the Josh Allen, probably not. But Rashawn Gary might slide. Ed Oliver could be there, although he had such a good pro day that he's starting to fly up the draft boards a little bit. I think Ed Oliver might end up being the guy that we talk about most here in the next couple of weeks, because how impressive he was. He was like maybe the first overall pick before the season started, and then he missed some games and then just decided not to come back for Houston there. I think he is, Kyle Williams retires to draft Ed Oliver. Like, okay, you're done. You're done there. And you got Harrison Phillips from last year. My personal favorite, I like Ed Oliver. I would love to take Ed Oliver. My personal favorite player available is Devin White, the linebacker from LSU, after Quinnen Williams, just because I think it's more realistic the Bills could draft Devin White than it is Quinnen Williams. Devin White is just, talk about culture. Like, the culture thing almost doesn't hold any water to me if Devin White is there and they pass on him. And I know you're thinking, Greg, they don't really have much of a need at linebacker, and I say, I know, I like Milano, and he should be fine coming off the broken leg. I think he'll be okay. And Edmonds, promising rookie season, but, like, what's better than having just these stalwarts at the second level? Like, Devin White took over games for LSU. Devin White, there's no way he's bad. There's no way he's bad. He played in the SEC for LSU. He played against Alabama. He played, against Florida and all those teams. And I just can't envision him being a bad player. Why? Like, look at who's a good example? Maybe like the Niners a couple of years ago. They had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis. Was that a problem for them? No. Now, you're telling me I could have Devin White and Tremaine Edmonds at 21 and 22 years old, respectively? Is that going to be a problem? I don't think so. And you might be like, well, schematically, they might have to take one off the field, like 30%. I don't care. I don't care. I'm in the business of getting good players. And I would run there at 9 if he were still there. If Ed Oliver and Devin White were both still on the board, I'd probably go Devin White. Me, personally. But I wouldn't be mad about Ed Oliver. I think those are the two players that I'm zeroing in on myself. I think that the Bills would be zeroing in on Ed Oliver for sure. And I think they'll get a chance to draft somebody like that because I'm assuming Kyler Murray's there and are gone. I'm assuming Bosa, Allen, Gary, maybe not Gary, but Bosa, Allen, Williams are gone. Don't even know what the Raiders are going to do. I think the Giants will probably go tackle. The Jaguars might go tackle. The Giants might go tackle. They might even go Dwayne Haskins. The Jaguars might go tackle. The Jaguars, I think I could see Doug Marrone just sort of salivating at the idea of Nick Foles and like T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end from Iowa. Another name I could see the Bills taking at 9 and would not be upset about. What's better? Like, help your quarterback, get weapons for him. Huge. But I could see Doug Marrone going tackle because he's Doug Marrone and thinks you need to block. The only thing you need to do is block and hand the ball off to Leonard Fournette. But he has Nick Foles now, and I'm sure he has watched Nick Foles tape of, Zach Ertz, the connection that they had, and might want to be like, hey, Nick, I can get you this guy, and how do you think that'll work? And it would. It would work well. Probably work out pretty well for them. And then the Lions in front of the Bills. The Lions did pretty good in free agency. They brought in Trey Flowers. The Lions could be a candidate for Devin White. It's tough. Obviously, it's tough to predict. And with trades and quarterbacks, you really can't be sure because Denver might want to come in and get a quarterback, and Cincinnati might want to come up and get a quarterback ahead of Denver. And then who else is down there? The Redskins might want to come up ahead of Denver and get a quarterback. So like the trade down situation, I think is going to be in play because of the mid-round quarterbacks that are available. So I can't wait. I mean, I love draft season. I'm sure that you guys do too. Let me know what you're thinking. Like, and I know what. I know DK. I wanted to bring up DK Metcalf as well, and like N'Keal Harry, Hollywood Brown. Like, I like all these players. I don't think I would take DK Metcalf at 9. He can work out. I know he can work out. I know that he's good at lifting weights. I didn't see him at Ole Miss be like a dominant football player. He had like 66 catches for 1,200 yards in his entire career, college career. Might he be really good? Yeah, he might be really good. Do I want to risk that at 9? Probably not at that position, especially when you got two guys. They still need a receiver. I could see them going receiver in the second round. I'm never against that. The receiver, tight end, Noah Fant, the other tight end from Iowa, if you want to go that direction, or Irv Smith, the tight end from Alabama. I like all these ideas. But I want to hear some of your ideas. What are you guys thinking? First round, second round, what do you think of all the free agent moves? You want to talk about Antonio Brown? You want to talk about WWE? We can. Hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is the same as my YouTube username, which you can find right below the video. So, guys, enjoy the draft. The schedule release is coming up. Going to try to maybe go to Dallas, Cleveland, a couple of those. We'll talk about that too. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the draft. Above all else, as always, go Bills.